I think it's too early to be sure what the government, where the government will finally land on relations with China. I'm happy, as I was as the foreign minister, to engage with China, to trade with China. And we have to remember we won't get rid of China and we won't get rid of the Communist Party in China. We have to coexist with China. So we need to find a way of doing that. So I don't think that there's a weak way of doing that, because I think weakness is provocative. I think there's a strong way of doing it, and that is having robust deterrence and a robust power balance in the Indo-Pacific region. We can't allow the region to become a Chinese lake, sort of Monroe Doctrine, Chinese Monroe Doctrine for East Asia, because that will be hugely destabilizing. There will be all sorts of catastrophic consequences that would flow from that. So we've got to stop that. And Australia has been really successful, in my view, in working with not just the Americans, of course, and the Japanese, to some extent with the Koreans, but working with the Indians as well. And this through the Quad, through AUKUS, through just reinforcing the American alliance network in the region, I think has done a great deal to underwrite the power balance that the region needs. So that's something that has on the whole been done pretty well. I mean, a lot of that was done by the Morrison government, the Abbott government, the Turnbull government. They all made a contribution to that, not just the present government. And you're right. I think Australia won a lot of plaudits for the way it stood up to China, despite the economic sanctions. And I think it's one of the reasons why China they haven't changed their strategy, but why China has changed its policy, its tactics on engaging with countries that it sees as sort of allies of the Americans. They've decided to go softer on Australia. I mean, I always say with the Chinese, well, if I were the foreign minister today, and the Chinese foreign minister is in Australia, as I understand it, in the week that we're talking to each other, Wang Yi, I would say to him, look, it's like this. We're happy to trade with you. We're happy to have two-way investment. But you have to understand that there are sensitive parts of our economy where we will not allow you to invest, just as there are sensitive parts of China's economy where you won't allow us to invest. I can't imagine you allowing us to invest in Chinese telecommunications networks and so on. Well, we feel the same way. It makes us feel a bit insecure. So we're going to just have those restrictions and on where you can invest and some restrictions on trade, but otherwise we're pretty much into wholesale engagement. And we expect you to adhere to the rule of law, not the rule of the jungle. So there's international law, and we expect you to adhere to international law. According to international law, the South China Sea is an open international waterway, and there should be freedom of navigation throughout the South China Sea. And it's as simple as that. We just expect you to acknowledge and adhere to the rule of law. So just make simple, clear points very politely to them and stick with that as a policy. They used to say to me, this alliance you have with the Americans, and you keep doing things with the Americans, this is Cold War diplomacy. We don't need these sort of alliances anymore. You should abandon this alliance with the Americans. And I used to say to them, well, it's like this. It's like an individual. I'll choose my friends and you choose your friends, But you won't be choosing my friend, people I can be friendly with, and I won't be choosing the people you can be friendly with. We have huge common interests and common heritage with the Americans, and common values. So we're always going to be together in a lot of different ways. And you just need to understand that. I mean, you have your own neighborhood and your own history and countries that you identify with more or less. And, you know, your relationship with Russia is your business. Your relationship with Uzbekistan and Tajikistan and so on, that's your business. And our relationship with the Americans, that's our business. I think if you are polite but frank with them, they will understand. And you have to be careful what you say publicly in diplomacy. There's always a good way of putting things. I can't say I always hit the mark there. I sometimes didn't, but I sometimes did. And good diplomats are able to hit the mark with their public comments. So I think we can get the relationship right, but you won't get it right by fawning to them. And you know, I mean, you're not going to allow them to invest in telecommunications in Australia. Punta final, it's not going to happen.